Hi and welcome back to my fortnightly vlog. Today I want to talk to you about how I manage my energy and share something with you that I think is of real value. I want to talk about the mind and body connection, which I think is hugely undervalued. And I've got a live sort of experience that happened to me in the last 24 hours that I want to share that I think will be really relevant. So I have got some things happening in my life where I'm having to be patient for things to happen, or will become clear in the course of time. But the what is actually irrelevant. Yesterday, I was influenced by somebody feeling a bit impatient about those things, and it affected my energy. Now, the important thing to say here is, what I didn't say is, oh, somebody was impatient for it and that made me feel impatient. And the reason why it's important to clarify this is nobody can make me feel anything without my consent. I am 100% responsible for my thoughts and feelings. Now, the reason I take that responsibility is because I have done a lot of work, which means I have a lot of awareness about what I can influence and what I can't. So we actually all have the ability to be 100% responsible. And the reason why this matters is, have you ever heard yourself saying, oh, she really upset me, he really upset me, that really upset me? The truth of the matter in relation to that is, that, or whatever it was, person, situation, isn't what upset you. You allowed yourself, probably subconsciously, because most things happen in our subconscious mind, which means we're unaware of them, but you allowed that to happen. And a lot of the work that I do with clients is about how you change that automatic subconscious programming so that when something happens that isn't ideal, you're not affected by it in the way that you may be currently. So yesterday, on the back of allowing myself to be impacted by somebody else's opinion, which wasn't mine, wasn't my reality, I recognised that for the afternoon, I allowed myself to be in a bit of low energy. And as a result, I wasn't hugely productive, which is rare for me because I am somebody that likes to achieve a lot. And the days that I'm not productive are very, very few. Importantly, though, I didn't get cross with myself. I didn't create a big story about it. I didn't kind of go, oh my God, I'm so useless and this always happens and yada, yada, yada. What I did was I observed it. I made sure to eat well in the evening. I kept with my normal routine. And as I went to bed, I decided this morning to go for a run. Now, I was last year and up until the end of January, I'm recording this in the middle of May, I was running regularly 3 times a week, between 12 and 15 kilometres a week. In the first week of January, I slipped down some steps and hurt my shoulder. And towards the end of January, it became apparent that running was jarring my shoulder. February was horrifically wet and I probably would have needed to run in my wellies, and pretty much I got out of the habit of it. I am naturally a very active person. I ride most days, I look after my yard, I walk our dogs, so 10,000 steps would be a kind of reasonably quiet day for me. I'm regularly doing 15,000, 20,000. So I wasn't particularly worried from a kind of exercise point of view that I hadn't been running, particularly as I have been doing Pilates. But I really recognised the difference in my energy yesterday. And if I reflect back, I can probably feel that my energy has been lower than normal for about a month. So I went to bed. I decided that I was going to go for a run in the morning, and that just means moving my morning around slightly differently. So I always generally have a cup of tea in bed if I have time. I'm usually up at 6:30 and then I feed the horses at about 7:30. This morning I fed the horses at 7 o'clock, and by 7:30 I was out going for a run. Now, because I haven't run for a few months, I decided just to run 2 kilometres, and it wasn't a speed test. It was literally just a case of get out and get my body moving. And within the first half kilometre, I remembered how good it makes me feel. Now, I want to stress here that I only started running in April 2020. Prior to that, I believed I couldn't run. I started running through Couch to 5K and was amazed by how possible it was. So I'm not naturally a runner, but I really did notice how good it felt in my body. So I finished 2 kilometres in about just over 13 minutes, I think, which wasn't particularly fast, but wasn't too shabby either, to say that I hadn't run for 3 months. What it did though, when I came back, I just felt brilliant. Jumped in the shower, had my washing out, just like cracked on with it, you know, went out riding and then did my yard jobs, and it made me so much more productive. Now, when I mentioned at the top of this video about the body-mind connection, often when we feel low in energy, the last thing we want to do is move our bodies. And it's interesting because obviously I've done a lot of work, so I understand how the brain works and I know how good it's going to make me feel. I wouldn't have probably gone for a run yesterday, but by setting myself the target of the morning, it was a new day. I was, you know, setting myself up for the day and it felt really good. It is easy to do light exercise, and I will often, if I'm feeling that my energy is a bit low, take the dog out for an extra walk, which she's always up for. But the reason why the mind-body connection is really important is my focus has completely changed. I've now have the awareness that I had allowed myself to be take on somebody else's story. And don't get me wrong, I am not saying that I shouldn't have had that experience of listening to somebody else, because talking is important, sharing experiences. I do know in my job though, of course, that because I listen to something from somebody else doesn't mean I take it on. Like, I don't take on the challenges that my clients come to me because I have a degree of obviously separation. I'm still able to support them and hold space for them without taking on their emotions. So it was an interesting kind of thing for me to observe and then to recognize how I could bring myself back. Now, it doesn't need to be running. It can just as easily be moving your body. Dancing is really good, for example, going out for a brisk walk, doing anything that gets you out of your head. So I had good running tunes on, which I hadn't obviously listened to because I hadn't been running for a while, and I was out in nature. The difference when you feel low in energy, it sounds counterproductive to exercise, to move your body. However, the link between how you feel in your mind and whether you've moved your body is absolutely huge. Clearly, there are lots of other things that are really important. So getting the right sleep, the good quality sleep that I talk about a lot, nourishing your body, making sure that you're hydrated. Those things are all absolutely critical as well. And it's really important to recognize that you are empowered to choose. So if you find that your energy is low, then moving your body and just going out there and just kind of thinking about putting one foot in front of the other, or turning the pedals if you're into bike riding, whatever the case may be, makes a huge difference to your energy. And for me, that is really empowering, because then I don't have to make a whole story about, oh, I feel low and the reason is because of this, and oh, and that means X. And that can be such an easy spiral to get into. And I know that because I've done that historically prior to doing all of this work. So the next time you find yourself feeling low in energy, you don't need to go out and run marathons. This wasn't about me going out and smashing a personal best. This was about me going, I'm out of the habit. I think it's going to do me good. Let's get out there and do it. Just go for a brisk walk around the block and see how you feel. Change the narrative in your mind to, I'm just going to move my body and see how it makes me feel. So a reasonably short vlog from me this week, but I just wanted to share that. Let me know in the comments anything that you feel that resonates with you, or if you've got any questions, feel free to drop me a message. See you all again in a fortnight.